Here is my Ferrari 296. And this is the hybrid battery out of it. And we think the reason why this car don't start is something to do with this in the hybrid battery. Since I bought this Ferrari, we've never been able to get it started. Turn on.
How can I help you? How can I help you?
Despite replacing the airbags and looking everywhere for a pyro fuse.
I think that could be acting as the pyro fuse.
It could be. And we've tried absolutely everything. Apart from this, the battery management system. This is the computer which controls everything that goes on inside that battery. And if this is telling the battery not to power up, then we've got a problem. And that'll be the reason why this doesn't start. But our theory has been dismissed. We sent this module to the airbag team to see if they could see if there was any crash data on there that was preventing us starting the car. And they come back to us and they said, not one person can actually talk to these battery control modules. Your best chance is to go to the main dealer to do it, which we didn't want to have to do. So it left us with no other option. If we want to take this car to Ferrari themselves, we've got to finish the build. But in doing so, we did something which caused Ferrari to completely put this rebuild to a halt.
We can't have it on site just because Ferrari is so strict.
First thing we are missing is the quarter panel, but we managed to get one second hand from Euro Spares. We've got to install this. The issue is when we install this, we're going to obstruct ourselves getting to all of those pipes and wires there. And there is one more pipe that needs to go on. Let's sort that out first, get the pipes installed. Get it on. So if we've got any hope of Ferrari actually helping us out here, we've got to get the car complete. Because any excuse for Ferrari not to wipe the crash data, that's even if they can, then they're not going to do it. We need to have the car fully complete, everything plugged in, and it pass all of Ferrari's checks. So the next thing to go on is the quarter panel, but that's not before I put on this aircon line. And I believe the aircon has a pretty important job on this 296. Some of it is obviously used for the climate control, but others I think is used to cool the battery as well. But with that in, I can now put on the quarter panel. We're going to slide this thing into place, and at the back it just bolts to the rear frame, but the front, we're going to need to weld it to the original quarter panel. First, I'm cutting the second-hand quarter panel. Yes! Now, should be able to overlay the panel. Lovely! And then we'll have to make this cut perfectly so there is like a millimetre gap, so Bob don't cry at us because he's got to fill the gap with weld. I'm going to use a self-tapper just to temporarily hold the quarter onto the inner skin. Then, I can start by cutting the old quarter panel so it perfectly lines up with the new quarter panel that we're putting in place. And I'm using a Dremel to do so because that's got the thinnest blade on that I've got in the workshop. I'll then take out the self-tapping screw so I can access more of the old quarter panel and make the cut right underneath it. Yay! And now that I've pulled it away, you can see it lines up pretty much perfectly. Almost ready for welding now. Okay, I have prepped the quarter ready to go on. I've used all the mole grips I've got to hold it there. I've put the door shut, tightened on to hold it in place. This gap has now got bigger because I've like moved it all in the correct place, but I think Bob can sort that out. I'm sure he can sort that out. Again, we should be riveting these, but if we can, because the holes are so big because it was used, we're gonna have to weld them. It's gonna make zero difference, so like you're never gonna know once it's all been painted. I've cleaned up as much as I can. The main tester for me was, I know the front's gonna line up because I can reference it off the old door shut, but the rear, I just wanted to see if that, there's still bolts in here, and of course there's washers, just in case it doesn't line up, because I think Ferrari has the same issue. Lines up to the holes, and you can see it's gonna line up pretty good on there, and same story on that side, it's gonna line up pretty good on there. So I'm quite happy with Bob to start tacking it in all the little places, and once that's done, the airbags are arriving, we can start building this car up, but we're not going to be building it up with standard body panels. That's a whole different can of worms we've opened. First off, let's get Bob in here.
Now we're gonna weld.
Bob's going to start off by welding in bits of the inner frame on the quarter panel to the existing frame at the back.
There's two skins here. The outer skin has a big hole. The inner skin has the little hole, and I have to try and fill up the little hole and then the big hole after that. If I fill up the big hole first, then it won't stick to the inside skin. And then it won't bond at all. So, a bit of a challenge because some of them are really, really small outside holes. And I need to get to the inside hole. And there's steel in there as well from the old drilled out rivets, so it's going to be a bit of a nightmare, but we'll clean it up and make it look good, make it work.
Now this is only because it's a second-hand panel, and usually to fit these from factory, Ferrari uses these self-piercing rivets. There'll be no hole in the inner or outer quarter panel, and these self-piercing rivets would literally self-pierce through both metal, holding them both together. But because we've had to drill out the old self-piercing rivets, and then we ordered a second-hand quarter panel, which has holes from the previous owner cutting that out as well, we're now just having to weld up both holes and weld the outer skin onto the inner skin. It will still have the same strength as a self-piercing rivet, and once we clean it all up, it should look no different to OEM. It's just a bit more of a challenge for Bob to do so. We almost know from Ferrari there's no pyro fuse in here, there's nothing we can do about it, so we might as well reassemble this back up, so once he's finished, we can get this back into the car and slowly start plugging everything in, because if we can get the ignition even to turn on at the end of all this work, we've made some really good progress. Let's start building this up, and Bob's going to take it away on the quarter. Next thing for Bob to do is join the old quarter panel to the new quarter panel, filling in the little gap that I've just cut out. He's going to TIG weld this up, and afterwards when the car goes to the body shop, it'll be all cleaned up and joined seamlessly. And as we're finding out with all these new cars, they're all made out of aluminium. Hence why we're having to use Bob to do all of the TIG welding, where some of the older stuff is made out of steel, which makes it that little bit easier to weld. And whilst Bob's cracking away at that, I'm popping back in the computer for the high voltage battery, and then putting the high voltage battery back to a state it was when I originally took it out. Because we're confident there's no pyro fuse inside this battery anymore, we've just got to hope that if there is crash data stored on that battery control module, then we're able to cancel it off with a diagnostic tool. Quarter welded on. Cheers, Bob.
No problem.
We've noticed some even more stuff, which is crazy. Look at the amount of shims on the back of this one, bearing in mind it's a second hand. That's how it come. But on this side, ours had no shims on. So the good news about this is that even if we've got the quarter slightly out, it doesn't matter, because Ferrari just put them slightly out from factory anyway, so then you just pile it up with shims. This is all good. Now I've got to build up everything inside the quarter. Hybrid battery's going to go on, and we can start building this car properly, all back together now. Come on, we've got to get this start up in this video. We've got to. Okay, quarter panel's in. Time to connect everything back up again that was inside the quarter panel, like the engine ECU, loads of wires, and loads of computers as well. Then in goes the filler neck for the fuel. This bolts in with 3 bolts, and then once that's bolted in, I've got to go back to the other side and connect up all the parts which connects to the filler neck. Once that's in, there's loads more modules, motors, computers, and shrouding, which goes all underneath this quarter panel, and I've got to make sure everything is all plugged in, because I don't want to revisit this place again. With all that in, the last bit to put on is the fuel filler cap. Everything is in the rear quarter. That was a lot of wires, but it's all connected and it's all in. We're missing a few brackets here and there, but we'll do that when we do the final fit up. For now, we want to make sure we can get this car started. So now that that's all in, we can finally put back in the hybrid battery, which we've built back up, pop that back in place, and then we can work on the airbags on the inside, because the curtain airbags have arrived, and if they were the things that were stopping it from starting, that would be amazing, but who knows. Let's get the hybrid back in, and then we're almost back to how it was before the crash. Now, I mentioned earlier that we did put all of the airbags back in the car, but there was a pair of airbags which were missing, which were the curtain airbags, and was waiting for these to be delivered from Ferrari. But now, they finally have arrived. And when we first picked up this car and it was at the Ferrari dealership, the one thing the Ferrari tech said to us is that everything has to be plugged in on the CAN bus system for the car to start. And once we put back in this hybrid battery, and we've put back in the curtain airbags, It's in. It's connected up. Everything on the CAN bus system should all be connected, so there's no reason why the car wouldn't turn on or start. Right now we're connecting up the orange high voltage lines straight to the high voltage battery, and then the black connector which goes on the battery as well is all the CAN bus that talks to the computer inside that high voltage battery.
All in. Ready to fire her up now. After we put the seat airbags in, seats in, back in, because we've got to take the seats out again, haven't we? Yeah. We'll take the seats out, put the airbags in, and then bumpers on, lights on. See you in a bit.
Woo! Now the reason we're taking the seats back out is because it makes it a lot easier to reinstall the curtain airbags once they're out. Curtain airbags are here, courtesy from the airbag team. Supplied from Ferrari though, because they make them weird and you can't reset them. So here they are. If these are the key to starting the car, or at least getting the ignition on the car, I'm going to lose my mind. But once these are in, most of the plugs should all be plugged in. Right, let's get this bad boy in. So this could be the final part that we need to get the ignition on the Ferrari 296, the curtain airbags. These sit in the A-pillars, and there's just a few Allen key bolts which hold it to the A-pillars. Then they plug in at the back.
Curtain airbag in!
And that is it. 2 curtain airbags in. Time to put back in the seats. Even though these seats are manual adjust, they do still have an electrical connector underneath. I imagine they use the same wiring loom as other 296s which have electronically controlled seats. But the part that they're plugging into on the manual seats just sort of bridges the gap to tell the computer that everything is all okay and there's no open circuit. And finally, I'm just plugging in everything which plugs into the roof. Okay, now we're pretty much everything plugged in. We do have a new door which we're going to fit later on, because we do need to fit the door up for the other stuff that we're doing in the video. But everything is plugged in apart from the front bumper, the rear bumper, and the door. So let's make sure that's all in. And then there's no reason why the ignition shouldn't come on then. Absolutely no reason, because if it doesn't come on, there is some serious issue with this car. Right, first step, plug the door in. Boom. Okay, that's plugged in. Then I'm going to plug the headlight in at the front. 1. Then the front bumper. And 2.
Now the bumper.
And now the rear bumper. All in. All in, guys. Everything is plugged in now, isn't it? There's not one thing unplugged.
Only the battery.
Battery going on. 3, 2, 1. Oh.
Wow, looks great in the museum.
Yeah.
Hybrid system.
We're back to where we were.
Let's see if the ignition turns on.
What's with the hazards?
You just need to turn them off.
Yeah, look, you just press this button and it'll go.
Turn the ignition on. It's not looking good, is it?
Still the same thing. Flashing hazards with no ignition or no start. The doors will lock and unlock, but that's pretty much about it. With the warning, hybrid system failure, go to dealer. We've now tried everything. And as far as the car knows, it's completely back together, but still won't turn on. It's 2:25 in the morning, and I've gone through every single fuse on this car, and I cannot find a faulty fuse on it. If it is just a case of like a main dealer plugging into it and cancelling it all off, great. But I feel like I'm wasting my time if it is something to do with that. So I am really stumped at the minute. I'm really stumped. I'm in two minds. I'm buying these hybrids because I want to learn about them. I need to learn about them. I need to be future proof. So once I know now how they act, I'll know in 10 years time, I'll have the experience to know how to overcome challenges like this. I'm trying to future-proof myself, but if it's not possible without the main dealer, I'm doing this for no reason. I think can't do it without the main dealer, which is what they want, exactly what they want. For now, I think the next step and the only step I can really do is continue building this car up. And that's going to be interesting, because I didn't want to do this back to standard. Now, we're about to let you in to a little secret which might get us in trouble. Here is a genuine Ferrari 296 Challenge body kit. Near enough everything to change my standard Ferrari 296 into a race car. There is some stuff missing which should arrive, and it has to arrive before we finish filming this video, because really I don't think we should have it. When you order the parts from Ferrari, they have like a little checkbox on there. If something's like a structural part, usually it'll flag up and you have to have authorization to buy that part. So you have to be a registered Ferrari repair specialist to be able to buy the structural parts. But we were able to buy a lot of structural parts already from Ferrari without any questions asked. So then we try a look and we went further, more structural parts, nothing flagged up. And I said, what about a 296 Challenge kit? Now normally if you just own a standard Ferrari, you're only able to order parts for that Ferrari that you own, and you have to send a VIN number when you order the part. But in this case, I was able to order all the parts for a Challenge 296 without any authorization. When I seen that I was able to order it, a genuine Ferrari one, I thought we've got to do it. But after this video, it's likely that someone might press the button at Ferrari and stop anyone like us ordering it again. So essentially what we're about to do here is build a one-of-one 296 road car which looks like a race car. The only thing that might stop us is if the chassis on the road car is completely different to the race car one. Now, because this is genuine Ferrari stuff, some people might be thinking it should fit perfectly, but as we found out, with the normal Ferrari stuff, it needs spacers, it needs shims. So I'm expecting to make some modifications to this. This thing is so light and flimsy, it's absolutely mental. There's supposed to be a cool rain light there, which is, yeah, I'm gonna look like a Formula 1 driver with this on. But this is the main thing I wanted to know. Is this wider than the stock one? Because if this bumper is wider than those rear quarters, we've genuinely had it. The race bumpers have on these kind of fins on the side, which makes me think that the race car is actually wider than the standard car. But when me and my dad went to line up the race bumper to the stock quarter, get a bolt in to hold it on. That's the first bit of good news. I think what we should do is build this bumper up completely then and bolt it on. It seems to be all good. Now we can build this bumper up for good. Bolting on the fins to the side, then all the grills to the bottom of the bumper. Just had a thought, race cars don't have number plates. So there's no number plate mount on the back. So I'm now thinking, do I sack the rain light off? And is that where I put the number plate over the rain light? Do I just like make a flat bracket there which bolts to the inside of there, and I can put the plate on there? Another thing we're going to need to make it road legal is don't have number plate lights. So we're going to have to figure this out whilst we're building it all up. Next up, the grille. So we've got camera loom. We need to probably separate that loom from this because this is going to go in the diffuser on this. The parking sensors go into the diffuser and the camera is going to go into the top grille on that. So we probably need to separate this loom out of this shrouding. So let's get that. Then we're going to have to try and drill these holes in the rear diffuser to make it all work. It's going to be good though, but it's worth doing it now before it gets painted. A lot of these parts don't come with the race car. On the standard car, we have a reversing camera which sits at the bottom of the bumper, but on the race car, there's a camera which sits in the center of the grille, which they actually use as their rear view mirror. I've got to detach the standard reverse camera and work out a way to mount it in the center of this grille. I do have the mounting bracket for the race camera, but that's a completely different shape to the reverse camera that you can see here. So I'm going to fill the mount with some rubber, and I'm hoping when I put the square reverse camera into this bracket here and tighten it up, it should be enough to clamp it in its place. And it seems to be working. There's the camera clamped into its new mounting. Then we can slide it up. Whoa, and fit it into the race bumper. Looking good so far. Modded. Next step, the rear diffuser. What's missing out of this is the parking sensors. As you can see in the standard rear diffuser, there's holes for the parking sensors. So we're gonna have to drill them out on the race car bumper and then add the loom to it. We've got to make sure these are in the right place. Got my drill bit. I need to not go up to the tape, else I can't go past the tape, else it's a big problem. I'm using my Christmas tree drill bit, as I like to call it, to drill out the hole for the parking sensor. Woo! And then I can line the parking sensor up and it fits perfectly. Holders, once they clip into there. Now I've got to do this throughout the whole rear diffuser to fit all of the parking sensors into it. And then my dad's going to stick on this glue to the parking sensor holders so we can stick them to the rear diffuser. And once they're set, he can slide in the parking sensor and they'll fit just like the OEM ones. And that's the rear diffuser pretty much complete. Now there's a few holes to drill into the rear crash bar because there's some threads that I need to put in there to mount some additional brackets for the rear diffuser and the rear bumper. I've already marked them up and now I can slide on the brackets and bolt them to the rear crash bar. Looking good there. And I guess the next step would be to fit it all to make sure everything lines up and works with the standard quarters again. We've got a temporary number plate mount in the back of the bumper at the minute, but the bumper looks like it's going on just fine. That is the daddy. Crazy, and we ain't even got the diffuser on yet. The bumper is looking pretty good and lines up really well. Time for the rear diffuser, which again are lining up to the brackets that I've just fitted nicely. Look at that! It's not fully on yet. We're going to do the fully on yet once we get the top panel, because I want to properly fit this kit on, and obviously we need to plug everything in if we're going to have hopes on starting it. That looks mental. It's going to be hard for some people to see the finished product right now, but that looks mad. I don't know what's going to come next. So, on to the next clip. Now there's a few things that the 296 Challenge car has which the road car doesn't. And one thing that you might notice is that the exhaust exits are completely different, which means we're going to need to take off this standard exhaust. One. There's good and bad news about all of this. The good news is the exhaust is off and we can kind of get an idea of where the new exhaust will come out from. It will literally just come straight out the back. We'll install that exhaust probably in this video, but I've had to take off this, which is the moving, I think they call it an air curtain or something. This, when you get to like 70 mile an hour, it pops up a little wing out the back. The good news is that this is electronic, and if I want to drive the car without any faults on the dash, we've got to either figure out like what resistance we need to put through it, which is going to be hard to like blank the plug off, or I could literally just take this motor off, hide it in that engine bay and plug it in. That way, as far as the car knows, it's got a wing and there's no issues with it. And I think that's probably what I'm likely to do, especially if we're trying to get it started as well. The reason I have to take that off is because the race car has a big wing installed on the back. These are the brackets for the wing, which hold it. This is crazy brackets, and this bolts onto that like there. But I thought that this was going to be able to easily mount on using the previous mounts of those ones, but I think we've got an issue because I think these are supposed to go like this. That looks okay like that. The issue is when you come to fit this, there's a bar in the way. I don't think the race car has this bar here, which would make sense because all that this bar does is hold this thing on, which holds that thing on, and that thing is not on the race car. That's a battery thing. So I think what we've got to do is cut this bar out, which would then make all this go floppy. And then I think we've got to put in our own bar on the side of that to support this bar up. So we're going to need Bob to do some welding, and then we'll be able to slide the wing in. But the other issue of all of this, once we put this on, I need to be 100% sure that that goes in that place, that bracket goes in that place, because the new back panel, which goes on here, this is the old one. You can see here, if that bracket's there, there should be a hole in this panel. And if I don't put that bracket in the right place, and then the new panel comes and the hole's somewhere over here, then we've really had it because I've put the bracket in the wrong place. So what I really want to do before I do any work is wait for this rear panel to come, because then I can be 100% sure that that bracket goes there before I start chopping out any chassis parts to fit this gigantic wing. It's not going to go that high, but it will, I think it'll be, yeah, it's going to be around like there. Okay, so before we figure that out, I'm going to take the motor off the old wing that was on the car, plug it into the loom, and then hide it somewhere in this engine bay. I may not even get a fault if I unplug this wing and got rid of it, but for now, as the car doesn't start, I don't want to take any risks, so I'm just hiding it away in that engine bay. And then we can pay our attentions back to the exhaust, and I'm going to remove the standard downpipes which come out of the turbos.
This is the new exhaust that's going on the car.
And yep, this is the new exhaust which is going on the car. The Valvetronic downpipes, which replace the standard ones. And as far as I know, these are exactly the same on the race cars. No modification needed on these. We've just got to switch everything over off the stock pipe onto the Valvetronic one, and then both of these are ready to go back onto the turbos. This should not only increase the power of the car, it should increase the sound as well. I've got to tighten everything up onto the turbos and then add the Ferrari engine cover, and now we can address the rest of the exhaust situation.
My job is to get the new exhaust tips out here. We've been given this part of the exhaust, but it comes out in the wrong place. I've tried to order this size titanium, but I can't get it in the UK. It'll take 4 weeks to get here. So what I'm going to do instead is, where it turns from stainless to titanium, I'm going to continue on with some stainless steel pipe that I've got here. And with the new bumper, it needs to come out in this area instead of this area. So I'm just going to go straight out. There'll be a little bit of twisting and turning, but I need to make loads of stuff. So this pipe doesn't come in the same size as the American pipe. So I need to modify that somehow, and then I need to make all these fittings as well. They're all odd sizes as well, so I need to make them, and I'll formulate a plan as I'm going along.
So Bob's got to now create the rest of the exhaust that leave these front pipes and go out of the rear bumper. This is the Valvetronic exhaust, which we're not going to be able to use, but I'm sure Bob can figure something out whilst I start building up the front bumper, which looks completely different to the standard front bumper. This looks absolutely sick. It is way wider than the stock bumper, and that's an issue, which we'll get onto. It's also heavier. It's also a lot heavier than the stock bumper, but apparently the 488, which was the previous challenge car, had loads of understeer. So I think they've added loads more weight on the front, and I think they've made it wider on the front as well to stop the understeer. The difference though between this and the road car bumper is that the road car bumper has parking sensors in. So now we've got to figure out how we can get these parking sensors into the challenge car bumper, because that, is it a camera as well? No, just parking sensors. Meanwhile, Bob's found the old exhaust tips of the SVJ, and these seem a perfect fit for the holes which are in that rear bumper. So it looks like he's going to start modifying them.
I'm going to get one of these cones, I'm going to pop it in there, I'm just going to tack weld it in for now, and then start building up the rest of the link pipe. So it needs to do a little bit of twisting and turning to get where it needs to go, but we'll figure that out in a bit.
This is going to be insane. SVJ Valvetronic exhaust tips fitted to a 296 exhaust. We're going to call this the Bobtronic. It's just cleaning up some more stainless steel piping so we can fit it to the SVJ exhaust tips. Then he's going to have to work out how many bends, twists and turns it's going to take to fit onto that downpipe. Whilst I'm working out how to fit the parking sensors in the Challenge front bumper, which looks like I'm going to drill out part of the grille to fit the parking sensor mounts in, which seems to work, but then the parking sensor is obstructed by the actual grille. So I'm going to need to cut out parts of the grille which obstruct the parking sensor so then it can actually sit through it, just like this. And that seems to work. Now we can put the grille back into the front bumper. Whoa, yeah. That has worked. Now to do the rest. There's 2 more in the grille in the middle, and then another one on the right hand side. I'm just drilling 2 holes to mount the parking sensor mounts into the grille surround, bolt them up, and then cut out the grille so the parking sensor can go through it. And it kind of gives it that OEM look. You would never know. And the loom I've glued to the back of the bumper with a bit of tape whilst it sets. Next up, Bob is test fitting his Bobtronic exhaust. It looks pretty good so far. Time for more modifications.
Right, the next thing I have to do is get these pipes into it. So these ones that we were looking at earlier, these are made of titanium, so I can't use these. They don't weld to steel, so I need to go back to the machine shop now, make these new, bring it back and fit them.
And whilst Bob goes back to the machine shop, my dad's got a job to do.
I'm going to build up the new door. There's the old one. There's the new one.
If you remember, the old door was completely perished. There's no fixing that. And all my dad's got to do is strip out the old door and fit it all into the new one. And Bob has come back with the fittings.
Now we've got our little fitting pieces we can put into the top of the pipe, and then we do a little weld all the way around, and that's it replicated.
These fittings are sensors for the OPF, and the car will no longer have OPF filters in the exhaust. But to trick the sensors to thinking that it does still have it, it seems like they're actually spaced out away from the exhaust. Bob's fittings now fit the sensors, and he's just going to copy the Valvetronic design of how far away they've spaced the sensors away from the exhaust. And this should trick the OPF sensors into thinking that everything is still all good with the exhaust. And that's one done. Time to drill a hole in the exhaust so now we can fit the fitting into it. Cleans it up, slides it in place, and then adds more weld around it to hold it down. Meanwhile, the old door is stripped and my dad can start building up the new door, putting in the wing mirror, the door lock, and the door handle. Tighten that all in, then the window regulator can slide in place. Because we don't have any power to the car, we're not able to adjust the window to make it fit nicely in the gap, but we're going to have to do that once we figure out how to get this car started and get the ignition on. Once that's all on, you can hang the door onto the hinges and check the panel gap to the rear quarter. And that all does look pretty good. Last thing to do is slide the window in, but as I mentioned, we can't align it. So for now, it's just going to pop it into the clamps, tighten the clamps up, and then slide on the door card. This will have to come off later to align the window, but for now, it's easier to put it on than store it somewhere in the unit where it might get lost. And going back to the exhaust, it seems like Bob is all done, and it's time to test fit it to make sure it all fits and works. You can slide it in, then screw in the OPF sensors, and finally hang on the bumper to see if it all fits. Oh! Look at that though.
That's crazy, isn't it?
That is mental. This should be an absolute fire breather because it's basically straight out the turbos, the straightest, shortest pipe ever, so we should get maximum flames. I don't know how safe that is next to this battery thing, but we're going to roll with it.
You're fine, you're fine.
Yeah, we'll be fine. We just need it to start now, and we need to fit the front end and the rest of this kit. The next job will be hopefully to get the wing on, but as we said, we've got to make some modification with the aluminium brackets and everything, but we're moving in the right direction. Things were looking good. There was a few modifications left to do with the exhaust and the rear end of the car, but weeks passed, then months, and we stopped receiving any Ferrari parts for this car, which was a problem. It's been months since the last clip. And if you remember what I said at the very start of the video about us getting the parts for the challenge Stradale and putting them on the 296, and that we had to all do it in one video and not release this video until we got all the parts, well, the inevitable has happened.
Everything's been okay with reference to the wings, they're on their way, but there are other parts that Ferrari have blocked.
Right. Okay. And is that, well, is that now because I don't have a 296 challenge car?
Not necessarily. It's not exactly just because you don't have a 296 challenge car.
Yeah.
But some manufacturers, what they'll do is they'll block a component to get prior release or information before they release the components. So because you have got a 296 GTB,
yeah,
and it's not a Ferrari challenge car, obviously the chassis number that we supply them is for a 296 GTB.
Right.
So that side of things is fine, but if it's a block component and it doesn't match the vehicle exactly, then they can't supply it.
Now some parts did show up, like the F1 rain light on the rear and some side skirts, but that wasn't the issue. Here's the front bumper. Looks unreal, right? But this will not fit on, as you can see down here, the radiator is in the way. And the same goes for the other side. The standard radiators protrude out of the car. That's one issue. The other issue is, if you line it up to this wing, you can see that where that goes around the headlight, there, look how short it is off the wing. So we realised there's two things that we need. We need to remove those radiators, because on the 296 challenge car, it has a giant radiator in the middle, and if we do that, we're going to lose the storage. And if we put a massive radiator in the middle and use the standard bonnet, which doesn't have any vents in it, that radiator is just going to get really hot and it's not going to have any cooling. So I figured out that we need the radiator in the middle, and because we need the radiator in the middle, we're going to need the bonnet as well, because the bonnet on the 296 challenge has vents in it to get rid of the hot air out of the radiator. So what's to stop us just using a VIN number of a 296 challenge car and ordering the parts pretending we've got one?
Sometimes they only make a certain amount of the component, so they block that part to make sure that they know exactly where it's going and it's going to the right car. Or it could be a position where it's a structural part, and they want to understand what's happened to the vehicle before they release that component.
So it's looking very unlikely that we're going to get the rest of these parts from Ferrari legitimately. Now we've contacted people who have got a 296 challenge car, and they don't want to ruin their relationship with Ferrari by ordering a part that shouldn't be for their car. So if they're ordering wings, bonnets and bumper, Ferrari are going to ask for photos of what's happened to yours. They could argue that they need spares, but I don't know, not many people are willing to do it. So at this point, Ferrari do not want, especially us, building a 296 challenge road car. So we've got to figure out a solution. And whilst I tried to figure out that solution, I thought it was a good time to send the car to the body shop to get it painted. First thing the lads are going to do is prep that rear quarter, sanding down all the welds that Bob did to make sure it's nice and smooth. Then, prep it for paint. And once the car's fully masked, it's time to go in with the first layer of spray, which is actually epoxy sealer. Once that's set, it's time for a layer of primer, and then we can begin the paint. I've decided to keep this the same colour the car was originally, as I've not really seen many Ferraris in this colour, and I do think it looks pretty cool. Once the guys are finished at the body shop, the car got delivered back to my unit where we can unload it and continue the full build. But now that it's in the new paint, it's completely transformed it. It no longer looks like it's had an incident with a wall. Okay. It is back and it is looking sick. It looks so much better. But it's still not done. And it still doesn't start. And we've still got a blacklist from Ferrari. But we've seem to have found a loophole. I don't blame Ferrari for doing it, because of course we're ordering parts for a car that we don't have. It's like us ringing up Koenigsegg and ordering a windscreen for a Koenigsegg which we don't have. So I do get it, but you may notice the front wings are on, and we may have mentioned before that the front wings, the standard front wings, are different. And the only visual difference that you guys can probably see is that the shield is missing off that one. But these are different, and if you check it out, the thickness of that compared to the thickness of that is a lot thicker on this one, and I think that's a lot to allow for the racing slicks that you put on the 296 Challenge car. But because that's thin, the bumper also follows on, so we needed them. But I think the first thing to do before we get overwhelmed with all the stuff back there is trying to build this car from the back forwards. So we need to pay our attention back to this side and start fitting the rear wing, then we can fit all the back panels and go further on. And also, I don't know if you guys noticed as well, but this jacket is pretty much the same colour as the car, which are out literally today, and last time we released these on the HWBT.shop site, they sold out instantly. So if you're going to grab them, now's the time to grab them. I don't want to get this dirty, so I'm going to take this off and take that rear bumper off. Let's get this car in the air and get the rear end of it complete. Off with the wheels, off with the rear bumper again, and now it's time to fit the wing. These are the brackets which hold the wing, but remember that bar was in the way. I'm going to use a bolt to secure it to the rear chassis leg, then I can roughly see where it fits, and I've got to do the same for the other side. Right, here's the back panel, and this is the issue. We couldn't get a new back panel because Ferrari wouldn't sell us the Challenge one. And what I wanted to do is have the Challenge one, so with the holes in for the wing, then I'll know exactly where the wing will fit, but we don't. So what we've got here is the standard one, but a stencil made out here, which we've had to go to a race team and copy their one and cut the hole and make the stenciled hole. The issue is ours is double layer, it's slightly different, but this is where it sits on the race team's one. So we've copied it, and now we want to see whether this is going to fit in the exact same place. So let's slide this back panel on, and then once it's sitting in place, we'll go underneath and see if the wing plates are going to line up with the brackets going through the holes. Yeah. And it looks like it does.
I think that's good.
Which means we're going to have to commit to cutting the standard panel. But before we do that, we need to get rid of the bar, which is preventing us from putting in those wing panels. So remove the wing brackets again, and then cut out this section here. And now the quarter panel loses its support.
Here's my bar up.
Yeah. But this bar here, I should be able to cut down to then re-support the quarter panel up, which isn't going to obstruct that wing bracket. I've now got to do the same on the right hand side quarter panel, and now that that piece is cut out, I can reinstall the wing brackets in on the left side and the right side, then get my pen to mark out the holes where I'm going to need to drill out the mounting points for the wing brackets, remove the wing brackets again, and then start drilling out the holes I've just marked. Once they're all drilled out, I can insert a riv nut, and now I've got some thread which I can put a bolt in to tighten down the bracket for the rear wing. And whatever I do on one side, I've got to copy it on the other side. Next thing is to cut down a piece of aluminium so I can slot this between the crash bar and the rear quarters frame so I can support it up again. I'm going to have to get Bob to come back in later to weld that all up. But now I can reinsert the wing brackets one last time, and now I can actually bolt the wing plates to the wing brackets. Look how high that thing sits. Next up, the wing. That's gonna look mental. But to fit it, I've got to cut out some sections on that rear panel. I'm using the stencil that we took from the race team to make sure it sits in the perfect place, and then using my Dremel to cut out the two holes for the wing plate. Once they're done, it's time to fit it to the back of the car. It's all looking good. Guys, it's dialed. Look at this. We're in. We're not in because the bolts are still in, stopping me from putting this panel in. And this has now got to be painted by the body shop, and then like neaten up me cuts and the paint I've burnt, but the wing fits dialed. The one thing I can't let it go to the body shop without seeing the wing bolted on. I think it needs to be on, doesn't it? And then also like, yeah, I just want to see the wing on to make sure the wing does actually go on. Then we'll send this to the body shop. Bob's got to weld that up, and then we can finally do the final fit of all the rear. We might be building up the front up whilst we wait for that though. But let's fit this wing on. That looks carnage.
Can a wing ever be too big?
Like the GT3 RS is going to look baby next to this, isn't it?
I like it, I think it's good.
Oh my god. Look at that.
That is obnoxious.
Yeah, that is crazy. Like, even if they do make a 296XX, I don't think it's going to have a wing that big. Because you just don't need it on a road car, do you? But I do need it on the way to work. This wing is looking huge. But it's got me excited for the rest of the kit that we're going to be fitting to it. Okay, good news, the wing fits. So we can send the panel off to the body shop, and then we can do all the final fit around there, put the Bobtronic exhaust back on and everything, and finish off the rear. Let's get it to the body shop. So off the wing comes one last time, and this plate is going to the body shop. And whilst we drop that there, Bob's here to weld up the support bars I made for the rear quarter. Again, we never would have been able to do this build without Bob, so as a thanks, go head over to Bob's YouTube channel and subscribe to him. With those support bars in place, I can now start fitting up all the rear panels on the back of the car. Sliding back in the exhaust, clamping it down for good this time, and then I'm going to go to the side skirts. The 296 has extra wide side skirts with bigger cooling inside. But whilst I started fitting this, I found something out. Right, this is mad look at. I'm just doing the side skirt. Took this side skirt off, and then I've seen this module on this side, and it has the same module on the other side, which the plug had ripped out of. But what I noticed is that this has got a little ground coming off it on there, and I was like, well, I don't remember the one on that side having a ground going to it. So we've come over to this side, but this one, like, the plug was broken, it's all ripped out. You can't buy the plug separately, you have to buy a whole entire loom to get the plug separately. So we've had to like make it work ourselves. But then we're like, well, is there a ground? We've got two grounds there, and then we've cut up this to see if we can find anything, and we've found these two broken can wires going, like, I don't know where they've come from, somewhere up here, isn't there? Somewhere up there, but we found those two broken can wires, and if Ferrari are saying you need every single thing plugged in, all the can, that was the first thing he said to us, didn't it? You need all the can plugged in for it to even start thinking about working. So there is potential.
There might be more.
There might be more, yeah. Yeah. So here's two broken wires. I actually found looking for a ground wire. So whilst we're there, we're just going to cut out the rest of the tape on this loom to see if there's any more damage. My dad found a few more broken wires, but that's it. He's now going to fix up all of those wires, put some heat shrink around them all, and then tape it back up with loom tape. Right, if my dad's done a good enough repair, we might have something different happen than what happened before. Let's get everything plugged in again, and I'm just going to see if anything different happens. So we plugged everything back in and tried the car one more time. But exactly the same was happening. Still the same.
Never mind.
Although there was something different. Plug in the car immediately. Never had that before. It never said that before. It said hybrid fault or something before, didn't it? But even when we went to plug in the car immediately, the hybrid wouldn't charge. It recognised it's connected, but the battery wasn't charging at all. We've got further, but still not quite. I think we just keep building. Still got a lot to go. We've got side skirts, and we've got that front bumper to try and figure out with the radiators as well. Okay, let's continue building. The rear panel has now come back from the body shop, so I can fit that over the rear wing plates and then start fitting up the rest of the car at the back. Panel on. The next thing to go on is the bumper, but remember, we need to solve the issue with having no registration plate lights because race cars don't have registration plates. But that's why I've got these. So these are little LEDs, little positive and a negative, and they're for a motorbike. So I can drill directly into the number plate and have the lights on the number plate. Problem is, I need power. So we've got the F1 light. That's the only place I can see where to mount the number plate. So the number plate will have to go over the top of that, and then the two lights sit in the number plate. I think I'm gonna pull the wiring down and go through the F1 light somewhere and then go off the main loom. But now I need to find out whether these lights will work off the main loom. So we're gonna plug them in, splice into the main loom, see if we can get these to power up, and if they do, we'll make our own little wiring and get it to work. So first, I'm just gonna plug the wires in to the plug, which usually goes into the reg lights. Yeah! Get in. So then, we're just gonna put some spade connectors on the end of my new registration plate lights, like this. I've then cut the plug off the main loom for each registration plate light, and I'm gonna put female and male spade connector ends on that. That way, my new registration plate lights can plug into them and unplug if I ever need to change them again. Just like that. And when I plug them in, they do seem to work. Now I've just got to get the wiring through this rain light and behind the bumper. So I've drilled a small hole here, which will be covered over by the number plate, and I can slot the wiring through. This wiring is going to be on the back. Just to picture this. Like, these are going to go through the edge, like that. Like light. They're going to be little holes in the plate. That's going to be like stuck on like that. Oh my days, that looks so cold. Told him cold.
Oh, he's learned new words.
Yeah, he didn't understand sick, so. Look, that's cold, isn't it?
Oh, it's so cold.
Cold.
Are you still married to that dentist?
Yep. Now my dad has learnt a new phrase. So everything from now is cold. Time to build up the rest of the rear end for good. And now this car is looking far from crash damage. The only way you'll be able to tell, of course, is with a car vertical check. You put any registration or VIN number into car vertical and it will show you the full history of the car. There's no hiding from them. That's cold. And if the car has been in an accident, it will likely show you photos of when the car was auctioned off at the car crash auction site. And a new feature on the car vertical checks, it will actually score your car. The higher the score, the better the car is to buy. You can see that here. Unfortunately for me, the 296 is never going to be a high scoring car on car vertical. But for me, that doesn't matter. I know the history and I know I rebuilt it. And I'm just excited to get this on the road. So don't forget to check your car out on car vertical with the link in the description box below. And make sure you use my discount code MATT for discount on that check.
My smartphone keeps making me stupid.
Right, this is where it's going to get tricky. Because we know the front bumper doesn't fit with these radiators because they poke out. The race car has a huge radiator inside the middle. We lose the storage space in there, which I think we're going to lose anyway. Because even if we move the stock radiators inwards, we're going to have no storage or next to no storage at all. We've got two options. We have got the radiator from a race team. They were able to order it because they can get away with that. Because if you have a front end crash on the racetrack, it's likely you're going to need another radiator. So we've got that option of putting in the race car rad. But the race cars don't have air conditioning. And I think this car needs air conditioning because I think it's got something to do with cooling the battery. So we need to try and keep these aircon radiators in, which I don't think is going to be a problem because they're small. So option one, I would like to keep the stock radiators just so I don't have any issues with the car running differently because it's got a different radiator on. But if that don't work, we're going to have to go to the race car one. So I think let's start unbolting this and see if we can somehow move them inwards, and we might have to like shorten hoses like this and see what we can bend and move round to try and get that bumper to fit on the car. So first step, let's unbolt these and see what we can do. We're definitely going to have to get rid of these shrouds, 100%, because they are not going to work. It only took us about 5 minutes to realise that it wasn't really going to be possible to use the standard radiators. Even if we moved them across, they seemed to be obstructing the route of the bumper and was just going to cause us a headache to try and get that to work. So out come the standard radiators, and we're going to have to get the race car radiator in and try and make that fit. Here's the race rad. This radiator is huge and it fits right in the centre of these chassis legs. I'm just hoping that 1, we can get it to fit with the brackets that the race car team supplied us with, and 2, that it's actually going to be able to cool our engine down, as well as the battery. Remember, the 296 race cars don't have hybrid in them, so there's not as much cooling on there. And it looks like to get this radiator to fit, we're going to have to relocate loads of different things. Like the crash sensors, we're going to have to move back. There's water pumps, which sit on this lower chassis part here, which we're going to have to move out the way so we can route hoses in different locations. But the good news about all of this, if we do get it to work, we're going to have a 296 which looks like a race car, but it has 820 horsepower. And the race cars only have around 600. So if you've noticed, all we're missing now is the brackets, see here, which hold the radiator upwards. But we've got a clamp on, we've got the hoses working. That's looking really good. We can plug in the radiator. Like so. I don't know whether the car's gonna like that, but we'll see, because it's now become a race car. The next issue is the aircon radiator issue, because we've got to remount the aircon. And find out how we're going to do that. But before we continue any further, I just want to see if the bumper lines up, because we've done all this to make the bumper fit, and if it don't fit now, we have well and truly had it. In comes the freshly painted race car bumper, which looks amazing. And of course, we needed to modify more of the front end to get this to fit. Yay! Now I'm drilling holes in the crash bar and inserting threads in there, because we need a place to screw in these tethers for the front splitter. The front splitter on the bumper is so big that it needs these tethers to support it. Once we're happy with that, I can slide back in the headlights, and then it's time for the front bumper again. The tethers slide through the grille, and then we can push the bumper in place, and everything is looking good. Last little bits of adjustment, and we're pretty much there. The bumper is finally on. The headlights line up to an extent. Not great, but we can work around that. Again, everything is still a work in progress. The splitter though, downforce. Now we've got to put on the bonnet. This is going to be tough because the wings could be too far out, the bonnet could be too far forward. We're just going to rest it in and then we'll work from there. All this stuff takes so long. The car still doesn't start. Let's get the bonnet out. Again, this bonnet we managed to get from the race team, and thank you so much for allowing us to do it. But as you guys will see later, all of this seems to backfire on me. That hole's for the radiator. There is a grill to go in there. It's basically a standard bonnet, but it feels way lighter.
What? That fits pretty good.
Is it fitting alright?
Yeah, that fits good.
I have no idea why this is removable, but this is the part that goes in the middle of the bonnet. So before we fit the bonnet, we've got to add that centre grille bit to it. This slides in from underneath. There's a couple bolts on the top. Then I've had to make some kind of prototype brackets to hold it in place because we weren't able to order them. These are going to go in to where the hinges were previous there. Whether this will actually line up with the bonnet or not will be interesting. The new bonnet doesn't use the original hinges. On race cars, the bonnet kind of sits on top and then pins hold it in place, which makes it way easier to remove and faster. I've bolted these brackets where the hinges used to be, and then I've got these aero latches, which are actually off the SVJ, to slide onto the brackets, and then we're just going to see if the position they're in is all good. And so far, they do seem to line up with the holes, which are already cut out in the race bonnet. We had to do a few more adjustments to get it just about right, and then we could fit the brackets to the front. There's no original mounting points on this, so we had to drill and put in some threads into the chassis legs to hold the front aero latches. Then we could slide the bonnet down in place. And it does fit. It will need some more adjustment to get it right though. That's actually looking good. The bonnet is a little low, but if we raised it to where we need to go, it lines up with the wing perfect there. We just don't have the bonnet pins yet. I've just ordered them, so I'm hoping they'll come. You rivet them in, and then the pin will slide in and hold it in. But I think once that's held up there, like that, that's pretty good, isn't it?
It looks amazing.
I think that looks really good. Good work. We need to work out the aircon. I don't know what we're going to do next. Could be anything. We'll figure it out. Now, in the previous video that we put out, we showed you guys the problems that we had with getting it started. And one of the top comments told us that the 296 doesn't have a pyro fuse. The only solution to get it started is a brand new SRS module. Once we install that, everything will be restored immediately. We're going to try an airbag module. This was only £300 from Ferrari themselves. Yes, we did reset ours and it had no crash data on when we reset it, but someone has said that it needs a new one of these, but they might not have had the airbag team to be able to reset theirs, so it's worth a try. And then we'll see if it does anything different with one of these in. So let me pop this in. I was feeling skeptical about this, but as someone has suggested it, I had to take the chance to see whether it would work. Original airbag module is out, new one is in. Let's just see if that makes any difference. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Plug in hybrid immediately. Still nothing here. But it was still the same. Right, I'll plug the old one back in because I don't think it made much difference. We just had bing, 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 bing. That was about it. Okay, back to square one. That didn't work. So, we continue building up the car. Next thing to go in is the roof lining. Once we pop that roof lining in, it's time for the windscreen. I have to apply primer around the area where I'm going to put the sealant, and then also when I get the windscreen, which I got from Ferrari, I'll have to apply the primer to the windscreen as well, and then I can apply the sealant around the car where the windscreen's going to sit. It is genuinely looking like we're going to entirely build this car without it starting, and then just hope that we can take it to Ferrari or someone with the software is able to get the car running at the end. But we've got more chance on Ferrari doing that if the car is in one piece. Next thing to go in are all the trims underneath the bonnet. And I've had to modify this to fit the race kit. Then the wiper blades can go on, and once those trims are in, it's looking almost complete there. Final things left to do. So, we need those bonnet pins for the bonnet to be able to put the bonnet on properly, but that's okay. The radiator is plumbed in to an extent apart from the overflow hose, which needs to go from there to there, and I have ordered a hose which we're able to do that. The air conditioning radiators go each side. Now all they do is you have one aircon rad, another aircon rad, and then this pipe above the top here, they connect the two air conditioning rads together, which is fine. I can connect them together, no problem. That old pipe still works, but I've got to work out a way how I can mount them. Again, I'll probably get Bob to make some brackets. The aircon lines are actually easy to make, but to make them, I've got to know where the radiator is going to mount in the first place, so that I know how short or long I need to make the aircon lines. Then you've got the dryer for the aircon, which takes all the moisture out of the aircon. That goes up and connects to the top up there. But again, to do all this and work all this out, I need to know where these are going to mount first, and to do that, the bumper needs to come off. But I don't think the car will struggle to start without this on, and the car won't know this isn't on because there's no electrical connections on there. So I don't think this is going to stop us from starting the car. It's just something that we need to solve later on. There's no arch linings in each side and there's no under trays on, but that's because the car's going to have to be taken apart and put back together again. The last bit to kind of finish the look of the car would be the wheels, because these wheels are just the standard wheels. We need a little bit wider to bring it out to match the body kit. So the wheels is going to be the final thing that we need to put on. So we just wait for Wheel Mania to come with the wheels. And then other than that, we then need to work out how we're going to start it. If we can't start the car, we're going to have to take it to Ferrari. But I don't know if Ferrari are going to work on the car because of the modifications that we've done to it. That's going to be a phone call for later. So for now, let's get the wheels on, see what the car looks like, almost finished, and then let's try and work out how we're going to start it. Come on. Off come the old wheels to make room for the new ones. Dips is here, and we're going to try and work out what we're going to do. Like, literally, Dips is our only hope now, because I just don't think
so
Ferrari.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all. Dips then got to work at checking everything on the car just before Wheelmania arrived. Yeah, boy! Oh, they look sick. And here are the new wheels. What an improvement from the standard ones. These wheels are Vossen wheels in collaboration with Novitec, and I'm sure they're going to look amazing. Dips is still working away at checking everything electrical on the car, whilst the Wheelmania guys start fitting the new wheels to the 296. Wheels are on. Centre caps aren't in yet, and of course the car is still in the air, but it's looking 10 times better. Thank you to Wheelmania. Thank you to Vossen Cross Novitec as well. The centre caps have still got to go on. We say Novitec. We're going to check the fitment out once we lower the car down. It's still over to Dips to try and get this car running, or at least starting. We need to hear the Bobtronic go. Right, Dips, it's back to you.
Yeah, let's do this.
Right, whilst Dips do that, if you need wheels, go to Wheelmania. If you need your wheels refurbishing, go to Wheelmania. Or if you just need customised wheels, do you want to make them completely your own, you can go to Wheelmania for that as well. Link is on the screen. Down to Dips to get this car started now, else my day's ruined. Come on, Dips. Dips continued working away at trying to get it started. He had people from all over the world trying to help him.
Okay, that's back.
But this just doesn't seem like something that's been done before. So I went to the last resort, calling Ferrari. Hello, I'm just calling I'm wondering whether I could speak to either a technician or someone. I just need a bit of advice with this 296 and whether I need to drop it to you guys or any advice before we kind of move further, really. I don't know who's the best to speak to with that, whether it be yourself or somebody else.
Good question. Let me try and find someone who's a bit more knowledgeable than me.
We can't even get the ignition on. The only thing that the car will do is flash the hazard light. That is it.
If you put the 12-volt battery on and the high voltage battery on charge separately, clear the fault.
Yeah.
And then see what comes back on. We might be able to have a chat from there, but other than that, there's nothing that we can do to sort of reset it.
And if I brought the car down to you guys, is there like a huge wait time on when you would get onto the car?
Obviously, with it being crash damaged, we're not too sure. So I would have to speak to service manager just to see if that was okay.
Yeah.
Or if there was any problems against it. But I can certainly give you a call back if that's okay. No worries, take care, bye.
Well, good, they are helpful. Bad, there is a question mark on whether they can help if the car is crash damaged, because I assume they're not allowed to work on a crash damaged car if they haven't repaired it themselves, because it's all the unknown. I understand that as well, but then that puts us in a situation of where do we go from there? Because if we can't solve it and Ferrari can't solve it or not allowed to solve it, I have an ornament.
Right, so we've got some bad news. When we look at the fault codes on here, it's actually bringing up crash fault on the EV system. So if you look there, crash data error, and that is a present fault as well. It's not an old fault. So that is definitely going to cause us an issue. This is exactly the same issue that we had with the Revuelto, where it was flagging up a fault on the high voltage system, and because the car was so new, we couldn't actually clear the fault. So the software hadn't been developed for it. Same as this as well. As soon as we try and clear the fault, it's bringing it straight back up. We've also got another fault that is concerning as well, is the fuse box at the bottom down here next to the battery is called C2. When we look at C2 here, it's showing us CAN bus off, so that's telling us that we've got no comms with the CAN bus system itself. So that again is a present fault. So I think first and foremost we need to attack the HV system, get that crash data cleared. That might then clear the Canvas 2 fault as well.
Just calling because I've spoken to the service manager, and unfortunately until the 296 has been to a body shop, we can't have it on site, just because Ferrari is so strict.
Oh, so it has to go to a Ferrari approved body shop, is that it?
Yeah, it's got to go to a Ferrari approved body shop just to make sure that everything that has been replaced, sort of cosmetic stuff that you've done on the car, they will then write something up, say it's all legit, it's Ferrari approved, and then we can get it in on site just to see what the situation is. But until it's been to an approved body shop, I can't get it in, I'm so sorry.
So Ferrari can't look at the car unless it goes to a Ferrari approved body shop to inspect the repair. And the car isn't going to pass the inspection because we've now fitted it with a race kit. And on top of that, we haven't used Ferrari's correct repair procedures to do our repair because they're not available to us. So it's looking unlikely that Ferrari would even touch this car. And with that crash data that's stored on the battery, just like the Revolto, we may need to order a new battery to get around that. And if that battery needs code into the car, the only people that can do it are Ferrari. So we're in a tough situation now. The only good side we can take out all of this is that the car is pretty much rebuilt. It looks bad boy. It's not finished, of course. It's not finished, but it looks so sick. It needs a little bit of lowering. We don't know whether the nose lift is up yet or not, but obviously the arch is smaller, so now it's giving the visual effect that it looks higher, but that was to make room for a slick tyre on the race car. So we can lower that, we can do all the bits afterwards. Air comrades needs to go in, there's bonnet pins that needs to go in. But generally, the car is there, and the transformation from the start of this video to now is mental, and I'm well happy with the colour. It looks like no other 296, it's literally a one of one 296. But, question is, does it start? The answer is, no it doesn't. It doesn't do anything. It still does the exact same thing as it's been doing since I bought the car. So, a solution is I've had to send an email to Ferrari, and that is my only hope. I've had to explain the situation, and I'm hoping that they'll give me benefit of the doubt and work with me on getting this car started and back on the road. The chances of it happening is very, very slim, but who knows, if you don't take your shot, you'll never know if you'll score. I guess we're gonna have to leave it here. There's still more mods to do, and you can check that out on the second channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.
Back in your day, if someone was cool, what would you say?
Wicked.
Wicked. Wicked and bad.
Wicked.
Like a drug that I just can't deny.